Hey y'all, welcome. Today this is my first time doing it, so welcome. This is what I'm gonna be calling like my bi-weekly Friday book club. I'm gonna go ahead and take these off. I was just checking to make sure. So bi-weekly Friday book club where we're gonna dive into a book, whether it's a self-help book, some kind of nonfiction book, probably more than likely nonfiction, on how these books are helping me be either a better developer or they're helping me just be a better person in general. And hopefully they can also help you achieve your goals or be a better person or do whatever you want to do. So I figure today's first book that we dive into is going to be Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. It's a really good book. I've read like I've read only 4 chapters so far, hence why we're only covering chapters 1 through 3 today. But I figured today we'd start with this. And part of what makes this unique is I'm only going to be doing chapters at a time. I'm not going to be doing a whole book at a time, at least not right now. I have to get in the better habit of reading before we can do that. So let's just hop right into that and start discussing it. So the first thing I want to start off with is this book is pretty much like, from what I've read so far, it is it basically explains why I do what I do. So in case you are not familiar with me, this is your first time coming and checking out. I'm Megan, hence the name Megan Wilson, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. I work on iOS apps, online live streams on Twitch. I also make YouTube videos about developer tools, Xcode, iOS apps, all that kind of stuff, web apps even sometimes. I just do it for fun. I enjoy it. I'm also self-taught, so I haven't really gone to school for computer science or software engineering or anything like that. I basically in 2017 decided, hey, I want to get back into development type stuff. I had done some computer science in high school, and that was about it. That's all I've done. And in 2017, I decided as I was going to learn, I would start writing stuff down. And then the pandemic hit, of course, this past year, and I picked up live streaming more. I picked up YouTubing. Here we are. And there's not a lot of videos, but they're here. All this kind of stuff. And I figured I wanted, as a person who is self-taught, I wanted more videos from people like me that didn't necessarily go to school, that are kind of like trying to find their spot in this development world, trying to do things for, whether it's for fun or to like make money, who cares, just as long as it's for fun, or you're trying to learn, like, let's keep learning. So I figured this would be, I would start sharing that experience because that's what I was looking for. I was having a hard time finding people who didn't get the normal software developer degree. I know they exist. It's just like hard to find people who are also going through the same thing you are right now, or the same thing I was at that point. So I decided to start live streaming, start blog posting, all that kind of stuff. I started pretty early on in 2017. At least with blog postings, doing like daily CSS challenges and stuff like that. And I never really knew, I knew why, because I knew that's what I wanted out in the world, but I never really had a good way to put it into words for people that if someone ever asked, why do you do this? I never really had a good way of saying it. And this book, the Show Your Work by Austin Kleon, is a really good way to do that. I'll make sure I update like descriptions and stuff with links to Amazon or wherever, Amazon, and to buy the book. I don't have affiliates right now with Amazon, so if you go to Amazon and buy the book, it's not going to give me anything. But feel free to go and join there and go and buy it, or go to your local bookstore, buy it. I know I've seen it here at Book People. I just bought it on my iPad, so I'm going to be looking down at my iPad a bit for notes and stuff like that. And if you're listening and you like what you're hearing so far, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that good stuff. I'm just going to put that in there. This will become a podcast. This will become a podcast. no editing, just going to go straight from the Roadcaster to the podcast service and get that out there. So make sure to, if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe and all that good stuff on, or follow or whatever it is on your podcaster of choice. But with that being said, let's hop in. Let's discuss. I only have about an hour just because I do this before work. So I have about an hour to start discussing. So let's hop in. So the very first thing is the intro. He kicks off, Austin Kleon kicks off the, Austin Kleon kicks off the intro basically saying with a, as like the title for the intro, a new way of operating. So it's going to start setting the tone for the book, and that sharing your work can get you noticed and maybe even more. So like, what is the point of sharing your work? Just kind of like thinking about self-promotion, all that kind of stuff, how you should be findable. And if you're findable, then people might reach out to you rather than you having to reach out to them. And he kind of like discusses how networking is going to work and all that good stuff, and how networking works. Do you have to actually go and do the schmoozing, so to say, go and talk out loud, that kind of thing? Or can you just like exist out on the internet? And he kind of also starts talking about finding this group of people that share your interests and can help you. This is all inside the intro, and this really sets up the tone for the next couple chapters, because we start diving into how to actually we start diving into creativity, how we share work, why we share work, all that kind of stuff. And I just like the intro with setting that tone of wanting to not be alone, wanting to share your work, get noticed, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's kind of actually why I started doing this, not necessarily to get noticed, but I mean, yeah, to get noticed so that more people can see, hey, you're not alone in the world, like that kind of stuff. And how it's impacted me as a developer a little bit more is that as I put my stuff out there, people leave comments, people leave notices, people go follow me on the social medias, and then they come back and they give tips to help me. I give tips to help them. We start building a network basically. And it's not your traditional network where I had to go out to this party and on this party we had to start, and on this party we had to talk for 8 million years. And it's this networking that really like you can form in college. And like, that's one of the good things about going to college is getting this networking with professionals in the industry. Have to necessarily get that networking through, you don't have to get that networking through the universities anymore. You can start to just like reach out. I mean, you could go and tweet at Elon Musk right now and say, hey, this, and he may have a chance of looking at it. Like, that's just not a thing that existed before. And I think that this kind of social networking that we've built so far is actually going to increase our chances of being noticeable and being findable, and start building your persona on the internet so that you can get noticed. Like maybe if you're looking for a job, you can actually, like, someone can reach out to you based on the work you've put out. And that's just kind of like setting like I said, it just sets the tone for the rest of the book. I'm sorry if this seems like all over the place. This is my first time doing this. We're going to try it from here. I was never good in English class. I'll put a disclaimer here. I was never good in English class on these type of assignments, but I really want to start reading more and reading books that can help me. And I think it's useful to share that out in the world. So let's go into chapter 1 now. I'm going to be switching camera angles. And if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be switching camera angles for fun and keep things exciting. Cool. So chapter 1 is titled, You Don't Have to Be a Genius. So to start sharing your work, you don't have to be the best in the field. You don't have to be the smartest in the field. To start sharing your work, you just have to start. And one of the ways to change this is by is that Kleon really like hits home that there is no lone genius. You don't have someone that is just by yourself, like creating in a vacuum. Like that just doesn't exist. People need people interaction for creativity to be better, all that kind of stuff. So having that creativity not in a bubble is super useful, and having that group of people that you can go and talk to is also super duper useful. No one works in a vacuum. So one of the quotes in the book is, creativity is always in some sense a collaboration. So no matter what you're doing, whether you're developing, whether you're collaborating, whether you're designing, whether you're doing some kind of artwork, it's always in some kind of collaboration. Even if you just post on your Twitter, like, hey, like you're a solo indie developer and you just post on your Twitter, hey, I have this issue. How do I fix it? And someone responds, that's still a collaboration of some kind. And Kleon really hits home and says, you need to get a Scenius. I think I'm pronouncing that right. You need to get a Scenius. And a Scenius, for those that don't know, it's a group of people that will, it's a group of like-minded people who support each other. And they don't try, and in the Scenius, you don't have the person who's really trying to upstage someone else. You don't have the person who's trying to be the best. The whole point is that you're just existing to be and help each other. You're not trying to be the best. And if you shift, and he makes, and Austin or Kleon makes the point to say, if you do your best to think about how if you do the best, if you change your mind, sorry, I'm trying to think how I want to say this. To shift your mindset from being the best to being, how can you help those group of people? By shifting your mindset to just being like, how can I help these group of people? You're actually going to be even more helpful to that Scenius and to that group of people, and start probably shining a bit more, because you're not just focused on your end goal, but you're focused on helping others. And when you focus on helping others, then you actually start learning more, you start growing more, you start getting noticed as someone people can go to get help. If you don't have a Scenius that's local right now, if you don't have one like in person right now, and this is filmed or recorded in March of 2021. So the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic is still very strong. So in theory, we really shouldn't be hanging out with people either, like in person and stuff like that. So now's a good time to mention the internet. The modern sphere is really built for us to collaborate with people that aren't just right next to me or right in the same vicinity. And the internet is really good for building these connections. And you can do it on any of the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, any of this. Like, you start building connections by reaching out to people, posting, that kind of stuff, sharing your work. I should have like a little sound effect that plays every time I mention the thing, sharing your work. I don't even know which one that was, but we're going to keep it. That's going to be the one that I play. Let's see. Oh, that was a scary one. Okay. Anyway, we're going to keep it and see what happens, and I can cut it out if I want to. By sharing your work, and you can just really start to form those kind of connections and help each other. And by doing that, you're also going to grow. You're going to get other people's input. Like, if you get stuck, it's just going to help you take your progress to the next level. If you don't have a CNES and you're really interested in software development, then there is a link to my Discord below. Come say hi. We all really like talking about development, tech, all that kind of stuff. So make sure, again, join the Discord, come talk. It's a great place to get started. If you realize it's not for you, you can always leave. It's free. The only thing I ask is that you be really, really nice to people and that kind of stuff. But please join. I love having new people. I love talking to new people. Maybe you'll get something, bring something to the table, all that kind of stuff. Or you can just join and lurk. You don't even have to talk. So with and how the internet's been able, and with the internet, I've actually been able to, with the internet, I've actually been able to connect and discuss with other developers. So I don't have a lot of developers like in my social sphere, like in the real world. This is all the real world now, but in physical meet space, I don't have a lot of developer friends. So I've actually been able to reach out on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, reach out and start connecting with other developers and start being able to have a group of people I can bounce ideas off of, and they can give me feedback. I can give them feedback, all that good stuff. And actually what I'm doing now has actually crossed into my real world. Like one of the Git articles that I posted with a video got picked up by someone in my company, on his Flipboard app to see different articles and stuff. And he reached out and was like, oh my goodness, this was great. This was awesome. It was a nice little introduction or just a little explanation of like how Git works. And this is like someone who's up in the software developer department, research and development department at my company. And it was just really cool to see, like, I may not have the background in a computer science degree, but I can still be useful to someone else in my company. Another section in chapter 1 is be an amateur. So basically what he's saying in this section is don't be afraid to try things, to fail, and most importantly, don't stop learning. Like always keep learning. I mean, it's repeated over and over and over again that that if you become a software developer, you can't stop learning. The most important thing is don't be afraid to fail. Failing is just you trying new ways to do things, and that's okay. Maybe you do need a new way to do something. Maybe the way that was being done just wasn't a good way. By failing, you're learning what not to do, and then eventually you'll get to a process that actually you'll get to something that you can actually do. So again, don't stop sharing, don't stop learning. Share what you're learning as you're learning. You don't have to be a genius and you don't have to be an expert to start your sharing. If you start sharing immediately, like as soon as you start learning, then it's actually going to help you learn. I've found that I learn best when I need to explain something out loud, or I need to explain something written down. If I need to explain something, then that's when I learn best because I want to make sure I know all the gotchas. So by sharing what you're learning, especially as a software developer, you're reinforcing those patterns. You're reinforcing the syntax. You're reinforcing everything you're learning inside your brain already. Now in chapter 2, he talks about you need to think process, not the products. So sometimes how you made something is more useful than what you made. And that is totally fine. Just putting that out there. Like, at least this is how I'm interpreting this chapter. So how you made something, like if we're talking specifically software development, like what libraries you used, how did this actually flow together? How did this work? Did you run into any issues? If you ran into issues, how did you solve those issues? That might be for your personal development actually better than whatever product you're putting out. So whether that, like if you're building a web app, maybe you ran into an issue on how to implement a shopping cart. You now know how to implement the shopping cart. And if you are sharing that process of, this is the issue, I ran into issue X, I fixed it by issue Y. You document that, then, and you share that somehow. And then if you run into that issue again, you can go back and find it. Also, this book is really about sharing your work out in the open, out in the real world, or out in the online sphere. So also know people are really interested in that in issue. I mean, people are really interested in the process of what you made. So by putting it out in the open, you can use that as like either gaining more users or to gain more help. I kind of mentioned this at the beginning. I'm self-taught. I don't know what I'm doing completely. This is part of the reason why I do my work out in the open, because I don't know what I'm doing. So by doing my work out in the open, like my Twitch live streams for coding for my apps, then people can chime in. And if I say, oh man, I'm having an issue with X, I'm having an issue, core data won't sync for whatever reason, someone comes by and watches, they can say, oh, hey, can you scroll here and see? And it's kind of turns into a paired programming experience at that point. It's a really interesting concept. It's a really interesting idea that I think has really allowed me to grow a bit more. And I can guarantee you that it's actually taught me some things as well. And then another reason why showing your work and showing your process is kind of nifty is that you are also documenting your progress. So if you ever get stuck in a situation, when I say stuck in a situation, I mean like you ever get stuck, you ever get down, you ever think, hey, I'm not good enough at this point. Well, if you ever think that and you kind of just stop and you're like, man, I don't know if I'm good enough, you can go back to your process, go back through your process and actually see that, hey, you have grown this much. Look at all the stuff you've learned. Look at all the stuff you've implemented. Look at everything that's happened, and you will be able to see your progress. You can use this as like a progress chart, all that kind of stuff. I know GitHub has the little squares of like your commit history and how that can work and stuff like that. But like with your, but by just looking at that, you don't really know what happened, or you can even go back and think like, hey, what did happen that day? And then you can go back and see what's going on, what you did through that commit history. So even as a software developer, we actually already have a built-in way of sharing our work by just logging our commits on Git. Either that's GitHub, GitLab, all that kind of stuff. Like we're actually already doing a small part of documenting our process because we are committing along the way. And in theory, we are all using useful commits that can be used so that if you need to go back 2 points, but that can also be used to document your progress along the way. So also by documenting your process, you can, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm covering my notes. I go back and see where I've started. Okay. So chapter 3 is, okay. So before we go into chapter 3, I'm sorry. I really want to give Kleon this like call out with this quote. Today, by taking advantage of the internet and social media, an artist can share whatever she wants, whenever she wants, almost at no cost. So because of how the internet has been built today, you can actually go and take advantage of all of this. There's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Discord servers you can join, YouTube, Twitch, all of this stuff you can take advantage of and start pushing it out there and start sharing. You can also do this on your own domain, which I highly recommend having some kind of blog that you own. You can put it elsewhere, but having some kind of blog that you own in case a service gets shut down, you are able to do it. You are able to control it, that kind of stuff. But by taking advantage of the internet, you have a way to completely put all you have out in the open. And it's really, really good to start taking advantage of that. If you need help, like starting a blog or starting whatever you want, documenting, if you need help starting a blog, you're like, hey, I really don't know what to talk about, then just literally start documenting what you did that day. Just start a journal. Take a notebook, start writing, start a daily log, write down what you did. At that point, if you just start writing down what you did, start reflecting, start thinking about, hey, was this helpful? Was this not? You'll at some point start being able to put that out into the open. And even if you don't, at least you have a way to go back and look at it yourself. And then he also says you have to be the one to be you need to become a documentarian of what you do. You write your thoughts down in a notebook or speak them, whatever you want, or take photos, anything. Become a documentarian. Take notes. Keep track of what you're doing. It's going to be useful to see your progress. For you to see your progress and for others to see your progress. And like I said, if you ever get stuck, you can go back and read that progress if you need to. All right, so the third and final chapter we're going to cover today. This is share something every day. You want to be sharing something almost every day. Whether it doesn't matter. Excuse me. I need coffee. And water. Okay. For you guys that didn't watch my Twitch streams, I like always start off each stream with coffee, all that kind of stuff, and people can redeem the channel points to make me drink coffee. It's great. It's a great time over there. I highly recommend Tuesdays and Thursdays for sure at 6:45 a.m. same time this stream started, and then every other Friday also, and then some other random times. I highly recommend you go over there. I'm a little bit more off the cuff and just talking about what's on my mind, talking about what I'm working on, that kind of thing. All right. So chapter 3, share something small every day. What you're trying to do is share something to build that documentation, to build that documentation that was mentioned in chapter 2, to where you can go back and actually like see your progress and stuff like that. If you don't share something or you don't write something down every day, then you don't have anything to look back on. And what's great about development, as I said before, is that you can very easily go through your commit history and start getting your progress that way. And you can pull that history apart and start sharing, like maybe it's proprietary code that you can't share, but you could then make a sample project that's very generic and can work, and then you can share that. Kleon also talks about this idea of a daily dispatch. So you need to share daily. So every day you put something out. But what if you're stuck? What if you don't know what to put out? Well, the easiest thing to think about and the easiest question you should be answering is, what are you working on right now? You can, by thinking about and answering this question, what did you work on today? What are you doing today? What exactly are you working on? Which is actually the tagline for Dribble. What are you working on? You can create this daily dispatch of you putting out what you worked on every single day. And you can do this on any social media platform. I had started doing this on my Instagram at @parttimedeveloper_. I really need to go back and continue doing it and continue just taking pictures. They don't have to be the best pictures, but pictures that just show exactly what I'm working on, or that I can put in the description of what I'm doing every day. What am I working on? By building this dispatch, people will find you. So whether it's for a job, for a project, or any other reason, people will find you and they'll want to reach out. They'll want to start talking with you about what you did. And maybe this is like my theater person coming in me, but I love I really love discussing what I did, how I did it. And I like putting it out there for people to see. And I mean, it's just like, if you are, for me at least, if I do something that's useful for someone else, then that's a net win for both of us. Like, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy making apps, and then my app is actually useful for someone else. Great. That just gives me more incentive to want to build more. So, and also, like I said, people will find you, whether it's for, people will find you as you put stuff out there. Job opportunities start coming in as people start seeing, hey, you're doing this kind of stuff. You actually know your work. You actually know what you're doing. A lot of people, I mean, I've read on the blog posts, I've read on forums, that kind of thing, that like people don't really pay attention anymore, like to your GitHub repos and stuff like that. But if you're putting stuff out there that's getting shared, you're putting stuff out there on Twitter, Instagram, it's going to pop up on someone's newsfeed because of the algorithm. Like, it's going to pop up. You're going to get people reaching out at some point. Like, if, and then maybe you don't even need to submit the resume. Maybe they'll be able to just be like, hey, we want to hire you. Here's this position. We've seen your work on Instagram. We've seen your work on Twitter. We've browsed your GitHub. We've browsed your website, and we think you'd be really good for XYZ position. This has actually happened before. People have reached out. People have said, hey, we think you'd be really good. Do you want to join? I don't. I don't do it. But like, this is a good way to start your networking. This is a good way to start putting your name out there and for people to start recognizing you for you. Again, I just really want to mention here, like, why I like to share. I like to share everything that I'm working on, like development wise. Because I think it can be useful for someone. Just because someone else already did it doesn't mean that the way you're going to explain it isn't going to click for someone else. Like, there's a reason why I didn't like video A about Git, but I liked video B about Git. It's the same concepts, same ideas, but the way they were explained were just two different ways. Also, I know that another reason why I like to share what I do is because I can't be the only one looking up a question. So if I run into an issue and I'm like, I don't know, I don't have any idea how to do this. Well, one of the things that I can do is I can write it into a blog post. I can start doing my fix. And whenever I start doing my fix and state how I fixed it, the issue I ran into, all that kind of stuff, and I put it in a blog post, then I can go back and I can reread how I did that. And I can fix how I did that. I've done that before several times. I'm like, how did I do this? And here it pops up my blog post on Google of like how I exactly implemented it. And I can go and start and implement it again. It's great. Kleon says that, where'd it go? Small things over time can get big. So as you are building your backlog of your blog, your Instagram, your Twitter, whatever it is, as you start sharing, you're going to have that giant backlog of content that people can go back and read, that you can go back and read. That giant backlog is just going to be there. And it's great to go back and see where you started, to see where you're going. It's also great to go back and see what exactly where exactly you're going as well. Cause you can go back and be like, I kind of stopped this project. Maybe I want to go back and view it again. Kind of deal. Another thing that he says in here in chapter 3, and this is going to be the last thing that I'm going to say, is build a good domain name. Always build on your domain name. So meganwilson.com. I also have one for cttplus.xyz. meganwilson.com is like my personal blog that's just like random things that I think of that I want to put there. cttplus.xyz is my blog site. Every time I make a video on YouTube, I put it on the blog. Every time I make a article that I put on dev.to and Medium, I put it on the blog. Instagram posts stay on Instagram. Twitter stays on Twitter. I'm actually tempted to start putting my Instagram posts on my blog as well on my CCT Plus blog. That way, it's just there. If Instagram were to go away, I have my blog to fall back to. If Twitter were to go away, I have somewhere to fall back to. So just be aware, social media sites can pop up. Social media sites go away. It's good to, if you're really going to start being in this social sphere, it's really good to start thinking about, hey, this thing might go away. Have a way to, you're going to want a way to actually keep your content yours and when I say content, I really just mean, I don't mean just content like YouTube videos, but I mean like the tweets that you put out, the photos that you post, the blogs that you put out. Like you want to make sure that you have those stored for you. Another reason why, especially as a software developer, it's good to have your own domain name is because then people can associate it with you specifically. It's your own domain is your own section on the internet. It's not anyone else's. So if you have your own website and that's where you are, you're not going to be up against this other developer at the same point trying to share their content as well. So I just really think it's really good to have your own domain that you can go on. But these first 3 chapters just really kind of hit home to me to wrap it all up, to put a nice little bow on it. This actually ended up not being nearly as long as I thought it was going to be. To wrap this all up, put a nice little bow on it. This book, at least from these first 3 chapters, have really solidified the fact that I should be sharing. I am doing the right thing by sharing, by sharing what I'm doing, and that it's helping me actually grow as a developer. It's helping me grow as a soft-taught developer because I get to meet all these awesome people that I've met so far and bounce ideas off of them. I get to help the community back. I get my name out there. People get to know me and they get to know that, hey, I like to develop apps. I like to develop iOS apps. I like to do these things. And here's what I'm really, really good at. And people knowing that I'm really good at it just cause for people to come in and I get to talk to really cool people. And I think that there's this really big stereotype that software developers don't socialize. They don't socialize. They kind of just go code and then that's it. They're done. But that's not true. Like, people don't just go and work on something. And this book really hits home, like, especially in chapter 1, that creativity isn't inside a vacuum, and software development is creativity. It's a different type of creativity. It's not art. It's not photography. It's not videos. Software development is just a different type of creativity, though, so that you can actually, it's just a different way to work your mind. It's a different way to do something. It's not just you do A, B, C. You actually have to come up with ideas on what to do, how to do it. How are you going to implement feature X? How are you going to do this? And people are interested in knowing that process and knowing your thoughts behind doing X, Y, and Z. And I think by putting your thought processes out there, it helps. I know it helps me actually think through my thought process. It helps me actually think, why am I going to do X, Y, Z? But that's really like what I have to talk about for the first 3 chapters of this book. Again, if you found this really useful, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on your podcatcher of choice, please do whatever it needs to do to like, heart, star, subscribe, whatever it is. Thank you guys. If you are watching, hey, put it in the chat. If you made it this far and you're watching the replay, make sure to drop a comment. I'd really like to know what you're thinking about on this. I'm going to stay on for a bit. Maybe someone will pop in and they'll comment and they'll say something and we'll be able to talk. But the podcast isn't going to hear any of this. So it's cool. But yeah, again, thanks for watching. If you need a Scenius and you're a software developer and you need that group of people to bounce the ideas off of or talk with and that kind of stuff, make sure to join the Discord. Links in the description. I'm more than happy to talk with people about this kind of stuff. Thanks, y'all. That's just my stopping point for the podcast. Like I said, if you pop in, you have any thoughts about this, like, please feel free, drop by, say hi. I am more than happy to talk about it. I think this book is just a really good book. It's a reason that it's my first book. So not next Friday, but the Friday after, we will be talking about 4 through 4, 5, and 6, chapters 4, 5, and 6. And those chapter titles are, let's go back. Those chapter titles are Open Up Your Cabinet of Curiosities, Tell Good Stories, and Teach What You Know. I mean, this book just really, like, just the titles of the, just the titles of the chapters really hit home to me. And like, it's just turning into a really good read for me. It's a really small book too. I mean, at least on my iBooks here, it says there's about 100 pages. It's really no time. I went back and reread the first 3 chapters in like one night again. So it's really easy, really quick read. I think I'm going to actually end it here. Doesn't look like there's much coming in. But again, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that good stuff. And I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.